We are joined now by our friend Eric Trump. He's got a brand new book out today. It's called Under Siege. It is burning up the bestseller ranks. I think I saw it posted that it is the #1 release on Amazon today, which is a super impressive accomplishment already. And we'll get into the book in a minute, Eric, but we appreciate you coming on with us. Having said that, we'll get to the book, but are you still kind of processing how incredible what yesterday was like in the Middle East, and your dad having the 36 hours that he had, where even as we started off the show, MSNBC, CNN, heck, Colbert and Kimmel came out and said, hey, he did something really impressive. You know, when MSNBC, CNN, and the late night hosts are praising you, that your dad must have really accomplished something. What was that like for you to watch?
Well, guys, a year ago, he was literally serving French fries at McDonald's, and now he just served in Middle East, pizza. Literally, it was exactly a year ago yesterday. He was doing the French fry routine.
That's incredible.
And riding around in a garbage truck, and, he just solves Middle East for peace. And I think the most impressive part to me, listen, you look at almost at every conflict around the world, whether it's, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, right? You had kind of a winner and you had a loser of those wars as predetermined. And here it actually feels like everybody won, right? I mean, you have people on both sides of the conflict coming out and thanking him profusely for ending the madness, ending the death and destruction. And then you have an entire world that's kind of coalesced around this victory. And I just think that's a really beautiful thing, and one of those things that only he could pull off. And I'm proud. I'm proud of him as a son. I mean, listen, we're going to talk about the siege at some point, today, but everything that we've gone through, everything that they tried to do to destroy us, guys, it all became worth it for me yesterday, right? I mean, there are times when you couldn't quite, couldn't quite get there, right? Was it worth it? Was it not? It was brutal. They tried to destroy your life. And then you see a man up there with the entire world respecting America. The death and destruction and evilness has ended. Conflicts all over the world are ending. Peace is being brought. Some son will go back to their mother tonight who would have otherwise not gone back. She would have been finding out that person was dead had it not been for his actions. And I think that makes this all worth it.
The book is Under Siege, My Family's Fight to Save Our Nation. We're with Eric Trump now talking about it. And Eric, I have a longtime law enforcement friend who, he's a big Trump supporter. And as the whole situation was playing out, the effort to use unprecedented lawfare, not just against your dad, as you have pointed out before, against the Trump organization, against Trump family members, against all of you. Really, anyone named Trump became a target. As you're going through that, he kept saying a normal, and by this I just mean an everyday person would be broken by one federal indictment, meaning, oh my gosh, how will I ever be able to fight this? And well, what is going to do my reputation? Your dad and your family are going through 4 nonsense criminal indictments and some of the civil stuff that you were having to deal with, including from Letitia James, which we were just discussing her situation. What was that like day in and day out? Did it just feel surreal? Did it feel like your dad was prepared for it and was able to be a happy warrior through the whole thing? I mean, bring us into that.
Yeah, well, listen, honestly, I was the tip of the spear with that whole thing, right? My father had certain constitutional protections that kept a lot of the subpoenas away from him, right? And so guess what they did? At 33 years old, he sat me down. He goes, honey, I want you to run the company. I want, you're the guy. You love real estate. You love building. You love everything we do. You've built so many of our projects. You run everything. You run our teams. I want you to carry this forward because obviously I'm going to Washington, D.C. And I said, no problem. And guys, I thought I was going to have this great time, again, building hotels, running a great organization. I never would have thought that 99% of my time for a period of 4 years, really a period of 8 years, was going to be, dealing with subpoenas. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history simply because I was the conduit to everything that he had ever built, because I was the guy running the organization that had, Trump on the front door. And so they came after us mercilessly. And thank God we had 2 things. We had a loud voice and we had enough zeros on the back of our name that we could literally spend. I mean, guys, I've said this plenty of times. We've spent about $400 million fighting off the lunatics. And this is the dirty dossiers. This is the made-up Russia collusion. I was the guy that got the call from the FBI saying, I hear you have secret servers in the basement of Trump Tower communicating directly with the Kremlin. We didn't have servers in the basement of Trump Tower. It was all a lie. It was all made up by Hillary Clinton. It was all made up by Barack Obama. We didn't have damn servers, but they wanted to put us under siege, right? They needed a reason they wanted their October surprise, obviously, to get, Hillary 3 more votes. But then when she failed so miserably against, a bunch of ragtag individuals who didn't know a damn thing about politics, i.e. our family, she needed a reason to justify her loss. Hence the reason they made this up. And they wanted to have this, the shadow loom over my father the entire time. They wanted this shadow government to try and take him down at every single step of the way. And then they leaked his tax returns. I mean, not only did they leak my father's tax returns, every tax return he had, this is the IRS, they leaked all my tax returns. They leaked Don's tax returns, the entire family. Then they leaked all the tax returns of all the employees, all our corporate employees. Then they silenced us. They took us off of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Then they gag ordered us. A lot of times you'd see me speaking on the front steps of the, of the courthouses around the country. Why? Because some of those cases I wasn't gag ordered in, but my father was. And so I had to be the person to go out and talk about, the judge's daughter who, apparently worked for the, Democratic Party and is one of the biggest, digital media people in New York State while her father is presiding over a trial against my father, right? And then they take him off the ballot of Maine. They take him off the ballot of Colorado. They do everything they can. They call up every bank and they try and get us deplatformed, debanked. I mean, guys, this was a non-stop siege against our family. But it wasn't just against our family. It was against the Republican Party. It was against you guys. It was against everybody who wanted free speech. They tried to hold all of us down. They tried to take away our voice. They wanted to destroy the greatest political movement ever made. And it's really amazing that we can be sitting here exactly 1 year later, 1 year after those court trials and everything else, having been vindicated in all of them, seeing what's happening to Letitia, seeing Letitia's case get thrown out literally 5-0 by the appellate court, seeing Middle East peace, seeing inflation go down to nothing, energy prices go down to nothing. I mean, what vindication this is after everything that we've been through.
And I just wanted to ask as a follow-up, Eric, it's amazing to me to see what your dad has gone through and just observing him in public. Also, Clay and I have been fortunate to spend a fair amount of time with him in interviews and in a person-to-person, face-to-face setting. Your dad, I have never seen him look scared once.
No.
And this is somebody who was shot in the ear and somebody else tried to shoot soon after. And it almost seems superhuman to a lot of us observing. And I truly mean that.
He is superhuman. But that's the guy I've known my entire life. I mean, he's always been this Energizer bunny, on steroids, wearing a red tie, right? And a dark suit. That's always been my father. Everything that he's ever wanted to do, he's always charged, and it's his only focus. People don't realize he becomes very myopically focused on whatever he wants to do. If it's building the greatest building, he becomes myopically focused on it. If it's building a great course, he becomes myopically focused on it. His real estate career, if it was The Apprentice, he becomes myopically focused on it. Well, he did the same thing with politics. I mean, he just did this turn and just dedicated his entire life to politics and winning a race. He became myopically focused on it and never. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have lost money betting against Donald Trump. Don't bet against the guy because he's going to beat you every single time. And he became myopically focused when it came to Middle East peace. I mean, that's the one thing that he always wanted to achieve, and that was probably the greatest achievement of all. It's something that everybody was laughing at. This will never happen. These societies hate each other. They've been warring for thousands of years. They'll never come together. And he goes, no, I want peace in the Middle East. I want the Abraham Accords. I want people to be kind of prosperous. But he does not back down. He does not mince words. He's politically incorrect. And frankly, it's what people adored about him. I mean, you'd watch those primary debates, guys, in 2016, 2017, and all those sound bites were rehearsed, right? I mean, Hillary Clinton, well, it's very lucky that Donald Trump isn't running the legal system of the United States, right? He's throwing out these zingers, yeah, because you'd be in jail for the rest of your life, right? And he's doing it off the cuff. And people like somebody who was finally real, somebody who wasn't PC, somebody who's willing to go out there and fight like hell, and somebody who's willing to work hard, because you just don't have that in politics. I mean, most of the politicians are lazy, they're canned, they're scripted, they're inauthentic. And they lose Americans. And that's why, there was never any excitement in politics before my father came into the race. No one was excited about Jeb Bush. No one gave a damn about Jeb Bush. And, now you watch these rallies where 30,000, 50,000 people show up to these rallies. People are excited. And by the way, a lot of those people are young kids who are, engaged in kind of the democratic process for the first time. It's a beautiful thing to witness.
We're talking to Eric Trump. The book is Under Siege, My Family's Fight to Save Our Nation. It's available everywhere. Eric, you just talked about your dad and his unique sensibilities when it comes to politics. You're a builder. You're a business
Don't forget
person.
to subscribe to
So
our
is Jared
YouTube channel.
Kushner.
And
so
be
is
sure
Steve
to hit that like
Witkoff,
button.
obviously your dad. How much do you think being a business guy made it possible to get a deal as opposed to a straight politics guy in the Middle East? I love this because deal makers look at solutions or situations and just try to get to yes. Whereas it feels like a lot of politicians get bogged down in things that don't matter. How much do you think business and deal making really was the foundation of what Jared, what Steve, and what your dad were able to do? And how much do you see that in your own world from a business perspective, as looking at politics as a series of deals as opposed to getting bogged down in sometimes these intractable issues?
By the way, it's a great question. I'm not sure if I've ever gotten asked, but it's 100% being a deal maker. I mean, listen, Obama ran on what? Hope, right? I like hope. Hope doesn't get you anywhere in business. You know what hope gets you? Hope gets you bankrupt. You don't hope for something. You go out and you effectuate change, right? And that's what Jared did so great. That's what Witkoff. I mean, Steve Witkoff's one of my closest friends. I love him to death. But I mean, these, and guys like me, right? I'm out of business if we don't, if we don't get results, you don't get things across the finish line, you are out of business, right? Like that's what business is about, making the deal, right? Getting things accomplished, getting things done. Whereas Barack Obama was about hope. Hope isn't a strategy. Results are a strategy. And that's what my father demands. He demands results. Everything he does, every word he says is about getting a result, right? And that's a calculated result. Everything he does, every press conference, every meeting, every call he makes, every time he pushes his cabinet, everything he does, every person that he appoints, it's about getting results. And that's what motivates my father. And that's what motivates people in the business world. And so I think that's why all of a sudden you had this kind of, ragtag group of people, once again, who didn't know anything about politics, it might not have even known that much about Middle East peace, but was able to go in there, build relationships, negotiate well, get everybody to a table and actually effectuate change versus, these career bureaucrats who talk about how much they know about foreign policy, and yet they're incapable of getting anything done. I mean, how many more times do you have to hear? Do you remember in 2016, 2017? Well, Donald Trump does not know anything about foreign policy. It's like, yeah, they didn't know anything about foreign policy either. And guess what? It took a really smart guy who could figure it out in about 3.5 seconds, bring people to the table, and actually get something accomplished. It always makes me so happy when I see him just run circles around these people who claim to know something about foreign policy, yet they haven't progressed the ball in the last 3 decades.
Well, it's been amazing to see, and especially to watch a lot of your dad's critics eat a hefty dose of humble pie because of the huge win in the Middle East. So congrats to you. Congrats to your family and to the president. I have one last one for you, Eric. You and I are roughly the same age. Clay's a little bit older, but we grew up with the same movies, you and I, Eric. And your book is Under Siege, My Family's Fight to Save Our Nation, which is already #1. Everyone should go get a copy of it. Does this Steven Seagal, by the way, a vocal Trump supporter, does Steven Seagal's Under Siege make your top 10 action movies all-time list?
Yeah, by the way, 100%, right? I mean, Steven Seagal is like a legend for us, right? As was Jean-Claude Van Damme, as you remember very well. I mean, my father and I used to watch literally Bloodsport every single weekend. I mean, we love that movie. We watched Bloodsport.
We watched that too. You know, it's Stephen Miller's favorite movie. He told us that on the show. #1 all time.
Buck, you remember the Kumite and everything, right? We love that. Under Siege. I mean, how can you not? You had Gary Busey of all things. Gary Busey ended up being on The Apprentice with us for years. You had Steven Seagal. He was tossing people around the Missouri. Remember the battleship? And it was a great movie. But no, never did I think that would come into a little fashion in my life. I mean, listen, anybody roughly our age, I'm 41. Anybody roughly our age had seen Under Siege, but they literally, guys, they put us under siege. They tried to destroy us. They tried to do everything they could to cut us off, to silence our voice, to bankrupt us, to deprive us, to weaponize the media, to weaponize the government, to weaponize the DOJ, to weaponize right, to make up dirty dossiers, to impeach him, to go after, his Supreme Court justices, his inner circle, his family, to try and screw up his marriage, to try and screw up his family, to try and steal his businesses from him. That is the definition of a siege. And the good news is, and then, by the way, and they did that to all of America. right? They tried to go after, Americans and mainly conservatives vis-a-vis the IRS. They went after their churches. They went after their religious institutions. They went after their children. They taught them revisionist history. They tried to, confuse their gender identities. This is the siege that they put this country through, and we won the siege, guys. We won it. We won every aspect of it based on the fact that we had the most resounding victory in American political history, winning the popular vote, winning every swing state, having every state in the country tacked to the right. And so, guys, they put us all under siege, and we won. The greatest political movement in the history of this country won. And so, the book, as ugly as some of the topics are in there, actually is beautiful, because you can beat the mainstream media and you can beat the weaponization of government, and we can win as a collective of Americans who love this country and love God and love our Constitution and love our flag. And that's exactly what we did together.
Amen. Book Under Siege. Encourage you guys to go check it out. Appreciate the time, Eric. Look forward to crossing paths down the road.
Guys, thanks so much for having me.
Look, we've had a phenomenal news out of Israel all week long. You just heard us talking about it with Eric Trump. You've heard us talking about it all week. It's been incredible to be able to chase and to see. Lasting peace is a great thing. In same spirit, it's worth mentioning our longtime partners and what they've been able to do. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. For over 40 years, the fellowship has brought Christians and Jews together to solve big problems facing the Jewish people in places like Israel, but also the former Soviet Union, feeding the hungry, helping those without means. Day after day, IFCJ teams are on the ground, hand-delivering boxes of nutritious food to feed and comfort the poor, particularly the elderly, including the last of the Holocaust survivors alive in Israel. I've seen for myself the work the IFCJ does on the ground. It's tremendous. It's an absolute gift, and it's because of the work and the kind generosity of so many of you out there. Put your faith into action by taking part in the IFCJ's mission. To find out how, visit ifcj.org. That's ifcj.org.